Hey there, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. So I'm trying to get back into doing stuff again, doing YouTube videos. Today I just kind of messing around. I don't feel like doing anything too exciting. So let's see. I'm just trying to get some experience here. That should be good. 57. Yeah, that's reasonable. Okay, we're going to go here. Go back to peaceful. Good. All right. So let's get out of here. So yeah, so it's interesting how we've had after last week's inflation numbers coming out higher than expected. Now it seems to be the talk of the town. Everyone's talking about inflation, which is really, silly in many ways. I mean, it's an amazing thing because it's like, look, we know that what had happened due to the cerveza sickness and all that stuff. We know what happened is that they had all these government transfer payments. They basically printed a bunch of money, and when you looked at the M2 money supply, so there's only certain ones that you can look at, but if you go to Fred and look at the M2 money supply, you saw that there was this 25% increase in in the M2 money supply year over year. And I mean, it's a very, very simple, really a very simple thing. It's like, do you really think that, you can just print all that money? You can just create money out of nowhere and just give it to people, and that there's no consequence to it. And that's kind of the key element, that there's no consequence. And what's further surprising is that there's comments by the current administration, the Biden administration, about how, oh well, I feel it's funny how he makes another one of these like speeches where he like, oh, I understand how hard it is for you and all this nonsense, but he's part of he's doing things that are responsible for it. It's like it's just amazing how politicians are able to just like, they basically cause the fire. They can, basically end up causing the building to come, setting the fire of the building. And then as they're watching the building burn, then they're like, oh, well, we're going to help put out the fire. And it's just crazy. It's just like, the thing is, it's childish. And let me try to discuss it in this way. It's very childish to think with these economic situation we have. Economics has changed a lot. The Fed has changed a lot. Their ways of thinking have changed immensely. Just in the last couple of years, we're now in a situation where basically we're basically in this kind of UBI kind of, it's okay to print money kind of thinking. And so just a minute here, I'm going to try to see if I can beef up something. Oh, I need to make I need to make a newer one of these hose here so that I can backhoe, not a backhoe, what is this thing called? Let's see. Pickaxe, I'm sorry, pickaxe. Yeah, so got to make a pickaxe, that's better. Then I'm going to have to enchant it, go over here, boom, boom. What is it offering today? Fortune, ooh, that'll be good. I'll take Fortune 3. Okay, I'll take that. And then what I'll do, let's see, so that didn't, I still have 54 experience, oh, that's good. Okay, so let me do this. Let me make another one. And so wait, I'm going to make another one of these pickaxe. So I'm trying to get a better pickaxe. And obviously, we'll go back to our inflation talk a little bit later. But let's see here. So I'm going to make another pickaxe. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enchant that pickaxe. And I'm going to take the two enchanted pickaxes. And what I will try to merge them using the anvil to get more power. Let's see. Okay, so now what is it offering? Fortune 3, efficiency 3. Tell you what, I'll take 2. I'll take the efficiency 3. So now theoretically, I have, let's see, I have efficiency 3, fortune 1 unbreaking, and then if efficiency 4 unbreaking 3. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. All right, let's see what I can get when I put these both in the anvil. Let's see if we get something more powerful. Can we get it? Enchantment cost 22. Let's see. 4, 3, 3. Okay, well, let's see. Cost 22, and then this would be 4, 3, 3. So, I'll take it. Okay, we'll take that. And now I have a new super axe. Okay, good. Okay, very well, very well. Okay, so going back to what we have right now. So basically, we've gone from a situation where, we had this pandemic. We now have the Biden administration, really the Kamala administration, and the country has just shifted to this whole kind of socialism type of thing, and in many respects, it's really a push towards maybe authoritarianism is really what it is. And so like a more authoritarian government might be like a communist government, which is kind of like they all come from Marx and Marxism, right? But there's, that's kind of the push with the mandates and all these other things. So, it's like now, given that we've printed all this money and we just, see, the thing is, we got away with it before. They basically printed all this money back in the financial crisis. So in 08, 09, we had the housing market meltdown. We had all these banks and financial institutions just get wiped out, right? Because they were making making bad financial decisions. And a consequence of that is many went bankrupt. And you can have examples like they let some go, like Lehman and Bear Stearns, so let those guys go, fail, cause all these problems, stock market crash, all these issues. But then you have like AIG gets bailed out, Goldman Sachs gets bailed out via AIG, and there was a lot of bailouts. And so if you look at that, there wasn't like a massive amount of inflation because of that. And so that sort of gives ammo to the socialists out there that are like, look, we should just print all this money and give people money because they need the money, blah, 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 and blah, 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 right? And their intentions are, I mean, it depends. You have different people with different intentions. Generally, it's not that they have this bad intention, but they kind of use this as to say, hey, look at, we can just give people the money. The Fed can monetize the debt, which basically means you print money, right? So basically, if I go out there and I'm the government and I float bonds and I say, look, I'm going to spend $2 trillion. And to do that, I don't have the $2 trillion and I can't tax the $2 trillion. I can't increase the taxes that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to borrow the money. And so they basically issue bonds. And if there's no one there to buy them, the Fed buys the bonds. So the crux of the issue is now like things have shifted to this point where everyone feels that they can just keep doing this, that they can just keep monetizing the debt, printing money out of nowhere, and that there's no consequence for it. And clearly there has to be a consequence at some point. At some point, the money that you created and you gave to people is going to get out there in the economy. Now, one of the key differences when you look at the great financial crisis is that, that money went to banks and stuff. It went to institutions where it wasn't necessarily in a position to cause a lot of inflation, because a lot of the money may not have been really circulating. See, to cause inflation, you need the money to circulate and move around. So, and that's, refers to the velocity of money. And so, of course, the thing that's happening now is that when you give money, just give it directly to people. Well, what is the consequence of that? Well, they're going to just spend the money. And that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen that, people save some of the money and they also just spend the money. And all those things happen at the same time with these payments. Because look, if you send people $500 a month for child tax credit or whatever, most likely, if they have kids, they're going to spend the money, right? So that money is going to go directly in the economy. Okay, that's all fine, but what's that doing is increasing it's going to increase the velocity of money, and it's also, which is going to lead to inflation, which is a general increase in prices. So it's very childish. It's amazing that we have politicians, and we even have economists like Lael Brainerd and stuff. These are the next generation of Fed chair that we may very well get, like have this view that they can just like, we can just print money and it's okay and it's not going to cause inflation. And yet clearly all the money that was printed during the basically the cerveza sickness, all that money is causing this inflation now. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes time for this money to build up, and that's exactly why it's happening right now. And to be clear, it's a very regressive tax, and it hurts the poorest in our society the most. The reason is because, like, if you look at the inflation, a lot of it was in things like food, and it's like the one thing that you need. And this has always been that like area where there's a lot of confusion, because people will talk about, oh, things are deflationary and deflationary. And it's like, well, no, they're not. Like, yes, TVs are deflationary. Like you get more pixels over time due to, technology, but you don't need the dang TV. You don't need the TV to survive. The TV you have is fine. So that deflationary effect is not really important. It's really just not important. So this is the kind of thing that creates this confusion. So now it's interesting because this was a surprise number this week. He came out with like 5% inflation, and this really kind of got into the mainstream news. Earlier inflation reports were high, and it was like watched in the business news and the stock news, but it wasn't really caught by the mainstream media, meaning like your regular CNNs or your Fox News. And now it suddenly has hit. And it's suddenly hit to the point where it's like, oh, this is now a problem. And of course, then, the Biden administration comes out and says, well, there's nothing we can really do. And it's like, I really feel bad for you, but there's nothing we can do. And this exactly is an amazingly hypocritical thing. It's like, you're doing things right now to cause it. You're putting mandates in place that are causing people to quit their jobs, right? If they don't want to follow your mandates, then they're quitting their job. This is happening right now. This is causing shortages and problems in price inflation in a variety of fields. I mean, it's all just very obvious. I mean, we don't even have to have much of a discussion about it. That's what's happening. And so if you want to fix the issue, if you go back to what happened in the 80s and Volcker, what did Volcker do? What did Volcker do? Why did he raise interest rates so high? I mean, he got rates into the 20% range. Why did he do that? And the answer is he did that to basically get rid of inflation. If he was able to, raise the interest rates so much that finally strengthen up the dollar and finally kill off the inflation. And that's what he did. But there's a problem now. Even though we had a lot of debt in those days, we still do not have the kind of debt that we have now. Debt as a portion of GDP right now is so high that it's not possible to raise interest rates at all. Matter of fact, the Fed has, just its main focus has been to keep rates low, because part of the issue is that we cannot afford the higher rates at all. You couldn't even, the government would struggle to pay its interest on the debt that it has right now. It would struggle to pay that, even if, interest rates only went up a small amount. So it's basically, we're in a situation, we're in kind of a trap. If we have inflation, which we do, and then how do you fight inflation? The only real way that traditionally the Fed has fought inflation is via what? Via raising interest rates. Okay, that's how they did it. That's how they've done it in the past. So now they can't do that because we have too much debt in the system. So it's a huge, it's really a huge issue right now, because, they're not going to be able to fight that inflation. They're not going to be able to do anything about it. What the heck are they going to do? Are they going to crank interest rates up to 10, 12% to get, fight the inflation? They can't. The economy can't take it, because the amount of debt that we have, we're on like $28 trillion debt, or, we're kind of basically near $30 trillion of debt. I mean, at those levels of debt, we can't pay the interest on that debt if interest rates go up too much. So that's kind of where we are. We're stuck in a catch-22 here. Damned if we do, damned if we don't. But here's the thing. It's it's like people are acting like children, just like children. It's like they're just like not taking responsibility for their actions. This is directly caused by the Fed monetizing the debt and printing money, and then the government spending the money as well. Both in cohort with each other are responsible for this. And it's, and it's amazing because it hurts the people with the least amount of resources. It hurts them the most. So it's like an amazing thing. People talk about inequality and this, that, and the other thing. And even they talk about things like inequality and how we should have UBI and all these other programs and ideas. But the thing is, all that stuff is hurting the very people. This inflation is hurting those people that you supposedly care about or are trying to help. It hurts them the most. They're the ones struggling. They're the ones, I mean, it doesn't hurt me as much as it hurts other people that are struggling on minimum wage or even lower minimum wage, right? Those are the people that are struggling. Those are the people that that are, what the two big areas are the food and shelter. And, what percent of their income are they spending on that? Like if I only spend 20% of my income on shelter, compare that to someone that's, spending 50% or 60%. They're in deep trouble, right? It hurts them for the prices to go up like that. So, and although in a way it's like, you can see that maybe they had good intentions. Like, do I really look at like an AOC and think that she really wants to hurt people that are poor? No, of course she doesn't. But the problem is it's the ignorance and it's the childishness that is the issue. Like what would help people more, to give people money, give them you just blindly give them money. And then the consequence of the giving money causes inflation to go through the roof. How does that help people? And the answer is it doesn't. It makes them rely on you. And therefore, from a political point of view, it's wonderful because you basically have people that rely on you, the government, and specifically rely on your party. And then therefore, because of that, it's like, oh, great, I get votes. Well, that's fine. But, the consequence of this, let's forget about votes. Who cares about votes? How about you care about your fellow countrymen who's suffering at the high prices that you've caused? So I think that's it for this one. I just think that this inflation situation is just reveals how childish people are. And, all I can say is that, we need to stop being children about this. We need to kind of grow up. It's very simple. It's like, look, if you print the money, there's going to be a consequence for printing that money. In a general kind of situation, you have a situation where the money supply cannot grow too much too fast. If it does, it will cause inflation because there'll be too many dollars chasing too few goods and services. It's just that simple. And this is basic economics that economists should know. But now we have everything's politicized. And so now what are they teaching people in economics? Are they teaching them, modern monetary theory? Is that what Lael Brainerd is going to push? And does she really believe that she can just I can just have UBI, print money for everyone, and it's not going to be inflationary? I mean, doesn't it already prove to you what we've seen thus far that, it is inflationary? I mean, we already know just the 25% kick plus what they did in the pandemic, already proven. We don't even have to debate it. It caused this inflation. And it's sticky. It's not transitory. It's sticking around. Will it settle off and we'll have some deflation? Yes. And will all those ships stuck in those ports, will they, what's going to happen with all that stuff? Look, when all that stuff comes out, depending what's in there, that stuff will be deflationary. My guess is there's a bunch of TVs and crap in there. And so they'll be great. There may be great Christmas or after Christmas sales, depending on the timing, on TVs and electronics and whatever other stuff is in those containers. But you know what? There isn't food in there, and the food that was in there has to be thrown out. It's rotten, right? And so it's not going to do there. There's not housing in there. There's not housing in those containers, right? So you know it's not going to do anything to reduce the price of housing. So that's kind of what it is. All right, that's it for this one. Talk to you later. Bye.